Hello, everyone. Welcome to Financeology 101. Class is now in session. The information provided during this podcast is just that, information. You will need to do further research to address your specific situation. Enjoy the session. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Gifted Generations LLC presents Financeology 101. This session is about executing your financial plan and identifying an accountability partner. So, this session, we have a special guest, a friend we've known for 21 years. That's about right, Mike? 21 years
Yeah,
since
it's
2000.
been around. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's been a long
yeah,
time.
yeah. And his lovely wife Cheryl, we've been on them since 2000, and they're good friends. And we invited him to come on to tell us about how he executed his financial plan, what led up to him creating a plan, and then how he executed it, and if he had a financial accountability partner. So, welcome, Mike.
Welcome, Mike. Welcome. Thank you for
Well,
joining us.
thank you.
It's a
I
pleasure.
appreciate you having me. Yeah.
Oh, you're welcome. So just give us a brief history of your financial journey.
Oh my goodness.
I
Well, let
know
me
where to
start.
begin.
Yeah, I know, right? So let me start by saying that growing up, we never talked about finances.
Mhm.
My mother never talked to us about saving and having a financial plan. Um, so when I was a young adult, oh, I made every mistake under the sun that you can make financially. I I used to get payday loans, and look, I don't mind sharing this because this was a long time ago. But I used to get payday loans, and the fees are so high that it's almost impossible to get from under payday loan. And
Mhm.
so I would have a payday loan to pay for my payday loan,
Wow.
if that
Wow.
makes
Wow.
sense. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
it was
It
a
doesn't make
mess.
sense, but I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, I mean, because if you've been terrible with managing your finances,
Right.
that's just another link in the chain where you just say, oh, okay, well they're gonna give me some money that'll tie me over to payday, but then you're
Right.
not looking at the extra fees that come along with that, and so it's easy to get caught in that system. Um, and a long time ago, North Carolina, the state of North Carolina, made it illegal um, for those predatory lenders to um, provide those type of loans. So, oh my goodness, that it was horrible. Um, but I got to the point, and I will say this is that sometimes when you get yourself into a financial mess, you have to ask for help. And being a
Mhm.
man, you like, oh, I don't want to go to this person and let them know all my business. But that's actually the best thing that you can do. Find somebody that you trust that won't, put your business out in the street,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
and somebody else that is financially responsible, not somebody that's spending like you, because you'll be in a world of mess.
Two people alike.
Oh yeah. But yeah, find you somebody that's financially responsible and just open up, just start a conversation and say, look, I messed up and I got myself in this situation and I just need help on how to get out. Um, and so, because I was into a rut of, I owed all this, I was in debt up to my eyeballs.
Mhm.
Um, And man, I just got to the point where I was like, you know what? This is, I can just see somebody coming and knocking on my door and taking my house and saying, our
Wow.
stuff is out in the street. And I'm like, I got to do
Wow.
something before that
Wow.
happens. And so for me, and I know some people are just, um, everybody's different. Everybody's
Right.
situation is different. But for me, I
Right.
just, when they say you get tired of being tired, I
Yes.
literally was tired of being tired.
Wow.
People, I have friends that, they would take trips and, they'd be like, hey, you guys, we're taking a trip. Do you guys want to go with us on this trip? And I'm like, man, we can't afford to go on trips. I'm trying to navigate paying these bills. But, and so a long time ago, I was searching the internet and I found this debt management company. And basically, what they did was, they look at all your debt that you have, that you've accumulated, and then they come up with a plan.
Mhm.
And again, I'm not going to say this is for everybody, because they tell you up front that your credit is going to take a hit.
Wow.
But the upside of that is that you will be at a place where you start seeing all of this debt being erased.
Right.
So basically, what they did, they sat down with me. We came up with a plan, and I'm gonna tell you, I was looking at this the other day. I had like $47,000 in debt, and we're talking about credit cards and revolving charge accounts.
Not
And-
credit card at all. Just credit.
No, that exactly. That didn't even include my card. That's just, we're talking credit card debt and revolving accounts.
Wow.
And so, I'm looking at this and I'm like, man, there is no way that I'm gonna be able to pay this off. And so I met with this gentleman, and we sat down. We went over everything that I owed. And so he, this is what they do. So they came up with a plan, and they said, okay, so from here on out, you will not make any payments to these companies. What we'll do is we'll contact them. We'll tell them that you're working with us. And it literally cut what I had going out in monthly payments. It literally cut that in less than half. So fast forward, after it took me 3 years to go through this program, and they were able to cut my debt from 40 something thousand dollars to 20 something thousand. Well, it was more in the high 40s, I would say, but they were able to cut that down to like $22,000.
Wow.
And I made a payment to them every month, and then they sent out my payments to the credit card companies. And every time somebody, I was getting calls from bill collectors, and I think they had their mothers and grandmothers calling me too. But
Can you call Mike, please?
But I had this, they have form letters that all you do is you just input the information for the credit card company and you send it out. And,
Wow.
but the thing of that is you can't hide from, here you are, you're trying to get out of debt. So you got to be straight up with people. And so I started accepting those calls from the creditors, and I was like, look, I found myself in a bad spot, and I need help to get out, and I'm working with this company, and, this is the deal. And you know what? The calls stopped.
Wow.
And like I said, in 3 years, I was able to erase all of that debt. Now, granted, my credit took a hit because you have to stop making payments. Because if you're on time with your payments, then they don't have much room to negotiate, which, looking back, I'm like, okay, it makes sense. So, but yeah, and like I said, that may not be the solution for everybody, but for me, I didn't know where to turn. And because I wasn't comfortable at the time in opening up to somebody, I felt like that was my only escape. And, and it worked for me. And like I said, I was able to rebuild my credit. So thank God that I got to a point where I was just tired, and just reached out for help. And that's, like I said, to me, that's the number one thing, is realizing that you need help and find somebody to talk to. Because, had I had somebody I felt comfortable talking to about my debt, they may have been able to point me in another direction. But, in turn, I went through this, I went this route, and it actually worked for me. And, I think for me, I was more embarrassed than anything else to let it get to that point.
Right.
And, I felt like I let my wife down. Here she didn't sign up for this. We can't go anywhere and we can't do anything because we never had the finances to. And I said, you know what? It's not happening anymore. I'm getting out of this. And, thank God that, today we can enjoy life. I mean, I have more years behind me than I have ahead of me. So,
I heard that.
so I want to be in a position where, me and my wife can start enjoying things and get out and travel and do things. And had it not been for me sitting down and coming to grips with what I had put myself into, who knows, how long that would have gone on. But so yeah, so we're good. You know what? It was funny. I was talking to my wife and I was telling her the other day, I said, I can't remember a time when I actually had my mortgage payment being paid automatic, where you set it up so they just take it out of your account.
Right.
Yeah, because I was like, I might pay it on the 1st, but I might pay it on the 16th, depending on what's going on.
They get it when they can get it.
Because you got that they always tell you that last day that you can pay it so you don't accrue any fees.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I got a 2-week grace period. So if something come up, they're gonna be getting this thing 2 weeks late.
What fee? Look, I can't be down. Why you charging me a fee? I ain't gonna pay that either.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, but you know what? I can't tell you how freeing it is to be able to number one, pay your bills on time, have them automatically drafted, because I know, like right now, I have a budget set up, right? And I know I have an Excel spreadsheet with every bill that I owe, the date that it's due, and how much I pay. Because the other thing is, once I got out of debt, I knew I never wanted to be back in debt. So, like for my credit cards, I pay my credit cards off. So I don't have any credit card debt. But like on, cable bill and all that stuff, sometimes I may pay it 2 months, ahead of time, just so, depending on what's going on, I might say, hey, let me just take care of this bill for 2 or 3 months and, not have to worry about it.
Now look at that. You went from saying I pay y'all when I pay you to paying 2 months in advance.
But after you go through so much stuff, it's good being on the other side of the spectrum.
Yes, it is. It is. It is.
But no, go ahead.
It's just amazing how you made up in your mind, and now you're living that, and you're determined not to go back, because some people, they decide that they're going to go on this financial plan or budget, and they really haven't made up in their mind yet, and so they wind up back in that same situation. So I want everyone to take away from this: once he made up his mind, you were so determined, and you're still determined never to find yourself back in that situation, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean that you have to have a plan, and you have to get ahead of this and say, okay, especially when you're looking at your credit card statements, and for me, how they tell you can take up to X amount of dollars in cash advances. Well, yeah, I had already maxed that out. So as long as you have a balance, you're not only paying interest on your purchases, but you're paying interest on cash advances. And so let's just say you have a $5,000 credit card limit, and you've taken out the $2,500 in cash advances. Let's just say, right? So you've maxed out that credit card. You're paying interest on the $2,500 in purchases, plus you're paying interest on the $2,500 in cash advances. So if your payment is, say, $100 a month, and they're taking out $40 for just regular interest, and then they're taking out another $40 for interest on cash advances, you have $20 that's going towards your principal on that credit card.
Wow.
And if you're paying $20 every month, how long will it take you to pay off that credit card?
Forever.
You leaving that money
Exactly.
to pay for it because
Yes.
Yeah.
And so when I was like knee deep in debt and I started looking at all this stuff, I was reading articles on, credit card debt and why credit card companies want you to, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but as long as you're responsible, I think credit
Right.
cards are good things to have. Because I mean, how else do you build your credit?
Right.
But once you have to get to the mindset that, number one, like today, I only use my credit cards just because I want to keep them active. I don't want people saying, hey, you hadn't used your credit card in a year, we're going to close your account. So I'll buy stuff on my credit card just for the sake of buying something, and then I'll just pay it off. But my thing now is, if I can't pay for it in cash, I have a second checking account that I have, and that's called my discretionary fund. And I have money going into this account. And so if I want a new gadget, if I want something, out of the blue, if I don't have the cash to pay for it, then I don't need it.
Right.
So I'm not putting it on a credit card because, hey, I want that new iPhone right now. No, I
Right.
won't say iPhone because I can't stand iPhone, but you know what I mean. If I want that new gadget right now, I'm not going to put it on a credit card. Unless you make a plan to pay that credit card off within that month.
Right.
So, and that's what gets a lot of people, especially young people, because when you're young, they practically give credit to you.
They sure do.
And there's a reason for that. There's a reason for that. So you have to be smart and you have to say, you know what? I'm not going to allow my credit cards to control me. I need to control my spending so that, I'm credit worthy. When it's time for you to go purchase a house, a home, or it's time for you to, go buy a car, you're not paying, I remember one time I was looking at getting this car and I could only go to the lots that were offering like
pay here
18 and 19% interest because my credit was so bad. And here you buying a car you're gonna be paying for the next 8 to 10 years just because you got bad credit. So it's just a cascading effect, But like I said, once you come to grip with the fact that I just don't want to be in debt. I don't want debt to control me.
Right.
Come up with a plan. First, like I said, ask for help. Own up to the mistakes that you made financially, but then come up with a plan. Don't just come up with a plan to say, oh, I'm just going to make my payments every month. I mean, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to make your payments every month, but come up with a plan on how you're going to tackle your debt. I mean, everybody has plans out there, Dave Ramsey. I mean, you can Google plan to pay off debt and everybody has a way for you to pay off debt, but you have to have a plan. It doesn't matter which one you use, but make sure you have a good solid plan so that in 2 years, 3 years, whatever it is, this is where I want to be.
Yeah, and one that works for you too, because not like you said, not every plan works for everyone. You got to find the one that fits
Correct.
you. It can be super aggressive. It can be not as aggressive, based on how much you make. You just don't want to jump in thinking, like my wife said, you can't go hard on the diet, and then you come to diet, you go right back to blowing back up. You're on this nice, hard, strict diet of budgeting, and the next you know, you haven't eaten out in 2 months, and the next you know, you just blow everything away. You go.
Yeah. And I'm gonna tell you something else. Now I know this is for for people that I'm a Christian, so prayer.
Yes.
I cannot say enough. I had daggone permanent carpet marks in my knees from praying. I'm gonna tell you, because sometimes you get to a point where you don't have anybody else but the Lord to depend on.
Jesus was saying, Mike, it's you again. It's you again, Mike.
Yeah. He was tired of me. I know. he was tired of me because I was coming to him every day. I was like, look, I know I came to you with the same problem yesterday, but I need some more help.
But God, you didn't answer the way I wanted you to answer it.
No, yeah. I mean, and to be honest with you, the path that I took, like I said, it's not for everybody, but it allowed me to look back on, number one, how I got in that position in the first place,
Right.
and to look and see, okay, well, these are the steps that I took, because you know what? I typically never share stuff like this with people. And I was on a men's retreat one time, and this guy, for some reason, I had no idea. And now, I know it was the Lord, but he came to me and he said, man, I'm struggling and I need some help. And me and this guy were not close. It's not like we were friends or anything. He was just, we're just two brothers sitting down sharing the word together. And he said, man, I'm struggling. And I told him exactly what I did. I gave him the numbers of to the company that I called. And, I hired a company to help me to get rid of all the negative marks on my credit. Because that's another thing. Make sure you check your credit, your credit report. I had so much stuff on my credit report, and I was like, where in the heck did that? I don't even remember that. So, and that's because I was, all those years, I had basically just, I turned my back on everything as far as being financially responsible. So I wasn't checking my credit report. And, it took me years to get all those negative marks off my credit, because, half of the stuff I didn't even know was there because I wasn't looking.
Wow.
But this gentleman, I share with him all the stuff that I went through, and that brother came to me, I want to say it was like 6 months later. He said, man, they were able to help me with my credit. I was able to get me a car. He said, man, I just want to thank you, because I know not too many people would have opened up and shared, their experience with me. But that allowed me to get to the point of where I am. And that's why I love what you guys do, because you're putting information out there for people that are struggling, people that don't even know what a plan is, right? They don't even know how to start a plan. Like, what do I do? So the fact that you guys you have this, and you're putting this together so that other people become financially responsible is just awesome, because there's not a lot of people that are doing that. So I
It's
applaud
definitely, thank you. It's definitely needed because, and it's funny how you started your story. And I think a lot of us started life like that. There was never a talk about money in the house. What
you.
money? Everything that we had went towards something. So there was
Yeah.
no talk about saving and investing. It was make sure you pay this bill, or just putting $20 on the bill and they keep the lights
Mm-hmm.
on and the phone on. It wasn't even paying the bill in full. So I'm quite sure most of us in our generation lived like that. And there's probably a lot of people that live like that right
Yeah.
now.
I
So,
look, I could identify with the lady that you had on last week that talked about the can. Oh
mm-hmm,
my goodness. I was like, oh yeah, I know where you're going with that can.
So look, I must admit, y'all didn't talk about money in your house, but my mama talked about money every day. She always says, Roy, did you steal some money out of my pocketbook? I used to take money out of my pocketbook all the time. So
Oh my goodness.
money. What did this man take out of my pocketbook today? And my sister had like a trunk, and she had money in a jar, and she had a lock on the trunk. I used to take the nails out the trunk, go in and take some money out
Oh
the
my
jar
goodness.
and put the trunk back. And I was like, no, Mom, I guess somebody take money out of the jar when you got a lock on. So that was the extent of us talking about money in our house. Who stole it? Who took it?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I love life too much to steal from my mother.
I was taking it all. I was taking
Oh
it
my
all.
goodness.
She would always say, "Well, baby, go in and get some change in my pocketbook." Well, I'm like, change and money, dollars, it's the same, right? It's still change to me. So I kind of went overboard. Now, the funny thing to that is that my mother to the day, she keeps change in a big old uh, steel can, don't she, Robin? And she'll say, go back in the back and take money in that can. How much do you want? Handfuls of it. So that started from way back then, and she still does that today. She'll say, you need some money, go back in that can, take what you want. And it
Oh
be,
wow.
huh, yeah. And I'm always reflect back on when she tell me go in my pocketbook and get some change out of that. So I always took out what I needed. And today she still does the exact same thing. Go to the back and take what you need. I'm like, Mom, wrong
Mm.
man. She said, take what you need. But that was her way of giving back at way she thought was helping somebody else. She just felt good about
Right.
it.
And
But
I
you know,
think
it's
about how
Go ahead.
I was just
go
gonna say,
ahead.
I think about how far I would be had my mother, had she taught us about finances. But
Yeah,
she
yeah,
was never taught about
yeah,
finances.
yeah.
Um,
Right,
That's true.
and
right,
so you can only give the information that you have,
Yeah,
right,
to give.
right.
So
right.
And that's a generational thing that we trying to break because we don't want the next generations to have that same situation as we had. I mean, we didn't have a lot, but we were good. My mom made sure we were good and we didn't lack anything. So it's a generational thing, and so that's what we're trying to break, that generational curse of
yeah,
not being educated about money and not thinking about how you're spending, and
Right.
you want to look good on the outside, but you don't have two dimes in your pocket.
exactly,
And I mean,
exactly.
and keeping up with the Joneses and all of that stuff. It's just stuff. I just see it as stuff. It's nice to have stuff, but
Hmm.
it ain't gonna save your life.
Yeah.
If
No,
anything, it'll
and you're gonna
ruin
be
your
and you're gonna
life.
be putting it on and you're gonna be putting it on eBay next month.
That's
Yeah.
right.
And I don't
That's
blame you
right.
because it's gonna be cheaper.
Yeah.
Yep, yep. You paid $1,000 for that phone. Now you can't get $150 for it.
Yeah,
So
I'm gonna be on
See.
eBay buying somebody's stuff because I know they're gonna need to sell it. I'm looking for them.
you trying to
I'll
say
take
something,
that.
Elroy?
Oh yeah, I'm Calvary. I used to buy your stuff all the time, didn't I? I forgot about that.
Uh-huh.
I forgot all
Well, you
about
bought mine because
that.
you bought mine because I was upgrading.
Look, and he was upgrading, so was I. so, so I do want to thank you for coming on, man. So we want to kind of wrap this thing up, and I want to talk about the person we got coming on next week. Is going to be following up with some sort of practical explanations and principles. What we're talking about is Tina Smith of Financial T. She has this book called "It's Your Turn: Walk in Your Financial Purpose." And what we're talking about today, she has a topic in her book. It's called "It All Boils Down to Behavior." The exact same thing we was
Mm.
talking about. And she talks in her book about, it's on page 34. She talks about how her and her husband had a budget, and they couldn't figure out why they had a budget, but they were still losing money every month. They're like, why are we $500 short? So she went to someone to help her out, and he asked them both to say, look, just start tracking all your receipts. Now they had a budget for the expenses income, but they wasn't tracking everything else they were spending. And lo and behold, when they came back the next month, they realized they were spending a lot of money on other things like Starbucks and stuff like that. They were spending a lot of money
Hmm.
that they didn't have, and they realized we spending money unnecessarily. And once they realized that, they changed their behavior. Now, in her case, she
Yeah.
used an advisor, but you also can use a financial coach or a mentor. What I'm trying to say is she went out to seek help. She went out and to try to help somebody to figure out what they were doing wrong because they couldn't figure it out for themselves. So I wanted to maybe give you a brief explanation of what a mentor is, financial advisor is, and a financial coach, the difference. So a mentor is they may offer value simply through their experiences or through their wisdom. A financial advisor is this: they can invest money for you, help you come up with a financial plan, assist with saving for retirement and other goals, and answer your financial questions. Making financial decisions can be stressful and emotional, and a good advisor should be able to help you see your choices clearly. All right. A financial coach is this: is someone who will help you understand the basic or personnel finances and help you develop and maintain a healthy financial habits. Healthy is the key word. Habit is another
Hmm.
key word. Their main job is to empower their clients or people they work with to reach their financial goals and learn how to handle their finances in a responsible way. They typically work with clients who want to save money, create a budget, pay off debt, or just to improve their financial literacy and general information. So, one of those three people, you're reaching outside of your norm can help you figure things out. And if things are not working out the way you want them to happen, it's two reasons why. Either you're not following the plan, or the person you got, you need to switch, and they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. But more than likely, it's the people not following the plan. So I wanted to be able to just give that information back before we wrap up. Rod?
And I wanted to say, Mike hit the nail on the head when he said it has to be someone you trust,
Yes.
someone that you're willing to be vulnerable with regarding
Yes.
your finances, and they're not going to go and tell all your business. So if you have a friend that's, as my pastor say, balling on the highest level, then you want to link up with that person and find out what they're doing. If you trust them with your information. If it's a
Absolutely.
family member that's doing well, and if you trust them with your information, talk to them.
Right.
But you have to have someone you're accountable to, because if you're not, you can't do it alone.
Right.
You
Right.
cannot do it alone. And as far as a financial advisor, we had someone tell us that they got a financial advisor and the person spoke over their head. They could not understand a word the
One word.
financial advisor was
Right.
saying, and they walked away basically at the starting line because they could not understand what the financial advisor was saying. So make sure
Right.
you find someone that can speak to you in basic language,
Relate to
basic
you.
financial language that you can relate to and that you can trust. But you have to have someone to walk you through this journey, someone that's been there and know what they're doing. But you have to partner with someone to get you through, because you can't do it by yourself. Because if you could do it by yourself, you would have done it by yourself.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So maybe you want to give them, or maybe I can give them how to find us. Of course, you can find us on our podcast, which Podbean is called Financeology 101. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/giftedgen LLC. You can also find us on YouTube. Just type in Gifted Generation LLC. We'll be the one with Starburst. It says Gifted Generations. And then there's Instagram. It's instagram.com/gift.gen. And then our website, which is giftedgenerations-llc.com. Don't forget the dash, because if you get the dash, you may find somebody else. It will not be us. Maybe you want to have last words?
Yeah, this was a great session. Thank you so much, Mike. We truly appreciate you. And I'm quite
Oh,
sure
thank
someone
you.
will be blessed by this message. And I pray that someone take this and learn from it and start their journey, because
Yes.
it's never too late to start. Never
Right,
too
do that.
late to start.
Right, do
Never.
that.
No. No. Nope. I'm living
So,
proof that it's never too late.
yeah.
Yes.
So thank you so much, and we
Thank you, sir.
appreciate it.
We appreciate you.
And thank you, everyone, for listening. And we will see you next time, our next session.
All right.
Have a
Thank you
great,
guys.
have a
All
great
right.
one. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Mike. Appreciate you.
All right.
All
All
right.
right then.
Well, thank you for tuning in to our podcast, Financeology 101. I hope you enjoyed this session and the information provided will assist you on your financial journey. Until next time, be financially engaged.